Hello folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and we are in the Python basic series for beginners. So topic for today is control flow statements. So what is a control flow in Python or in programming? So flow control is the order in which statements or the blocks of code are executed based on certain conditions. So it is not necessary that every time a particular program or a piece of code should be executed line by line. It may be required as per the requirement that the code should be executed in certain order. To control this execution of code, we use control flow statements. These control flow statements are classified into three types: conditional, iterative or loops, or transfer statements. In conditional statements, there are three variations: if else, if-elif-else. In loops, we use for loops and while loops. Then in transfer statements, there is break, continue, and pass. So today we will see if else, and if-elif-else. So what is if statement? If statements are generally used to take some decision on certain conditions. Now, say for example, here I have taken I is equal to 14. Then I have written a if statement: if I greater than 15, then print I is less than 15. That's it. And the next statement is print I am outside if. Now here, when you write if I is greater than 15, this line will check the value of I. Is 14 greater than 15? So the condition would become false here, and it would not go inside this if block, and the next line of code will be executed. So if I run this, you'll be able to see that the condition became false, so it did not go inside the if block. When I say if inside if, the indentation is different. Like if you click, if you keep the indentation like this will give you an error, because then there would be nothing inside it. So if you write something into if, it will be any something in the sense, any statements in if, it will be called as if block. And to write if block or anything, you will be writing loops. So if you want to write anything inside something and you want to indicate the structure by that, then you will write it using indentation. Okay, that's the reason I said earlier when I discussed indentation, as and when we do programs you will understand indentation much better. It cannot be in similar white spacing from the left as it is in the screen now, which will give you error. So there should be a difference between your if statement and the block that you are writing inside if. Indentation should be different. Okay, different in the sense it should be proper, it should not be below one another. Okay, the alignment should be proper this way. So this is a proper one, and you will not get any error. This is the if syntax: if, condition, and then colon. All right, now if I say I is equal to 16 here, and I run the same code again, you will see that this condition becomes true, and then I is less than 15, or whatever message inside this if condition would be displayed. So this statement is relevant, was relevant for the first one. I'll just make it true here in this case. Reason, yeah, as this condition got true, inside whatever here it is written got displayed out, and this has nothing to do with the if block. Irrespective of the condition, if condition becomes true or not, this is outside if. As I said earlier, this statement indentation defines that it is inside if. Here this statement defines, indentation of this statement defines that it is outside if. Now moving on to our next variation, that is if else statement. Now the problem statement here is, say I want to take a input from a user and take a number as an input and display whether it is odd or even. Okay, so I just want to write a program which displays if a number from user input is odd or even. So this is my problem statement. Now here there are two conditions, that whether we need to check whether the number is even or whether it is odd. So here Earlier we used to check only one condition, whether the number is greater than 15. If it is less than 15, we were least bothered, right? However, here we are checking if the number is even or odd. So we have to write a code for two conditions. So the syntax remains the same: if condition colon inside if something, and along with that else colon. If not, if this condition is getting false, this one, the one highlighted here, then it will go to the else block and execute whatever is there in the else block. And after that, this statement, last statement, is already outside if else block. So anyway, it is going to get printed on the screen. The first statement shows how we take user input and convert it to the integer. So this is for taking input from the user. We have learned how to take user input in the form of integer in our previous videos. Okay, so when I run this, I'll get a window to input some number. If I enter 8 here and press enter again, I will get even, because a modulus 2 is equal to 0. This condition got true in case when I gave 8 as a number, because 8 modulus 2 is equal to 0. Modulus gives nothing but remainder. If the number would have been something else, if I run it again, if number would have been 7 here, and if I enter, I will get the result as odd, because this condition became false and else got executed. Because a modulus 2, that is 7 modulus 2, is equal to 1 and not 0. So this block was not executed, condition got false, so whatever was written in else got executed and we got the result as odd. And this statement, it doesn't have anything to do with if else. This also got displayed. Okay, so we are done with if else. Then there is something called as nested if. So in nested if or nested if else, you can say this is just a slight variation to if and else. All right. So if I is equal to 10, then if they have taken one more statement, if I is equal to 10, the condition is been checked. This condition becomes true here. Then print I am in outer if. Right. Then if I is less than 15, this condition is true. This would be printed. So this is your output for the first condition, that is true, that is the outer condition. Now inside that if block, again they are checking for various different conditions. If I is less than 15, I is 10, so 10 less than 15 true. Again whatever is in this if block will be printed, that is I am in first nested if I is smaller than 15. Now I is less than 12, that this condition also is true, so these two statements will be printed. Else part will be ignored, and outside else also will be ignored. Okay, so that's all. These five statements would be printed as it is. If the condition would have been false here in the first place, if I would have wrote here 11, then here itself the condition would be false and it would not have gone to all this statement inside the outer if. It would have straight away executed the outer else. See, just because the condition is getting true here, it goes inside and checks for the rest of the ifs. And the if I would have been somewhere around say 13, then second if here would have got false. Let's check. Look at this. Only executed this block of statement, and I is greater than 15. That is else block of inside if. Second nested if has else with it as well. So this became false. It went with the else and it displayed this one. That's it. So that's how the execution works. Okay. This was all about nested if. Now if else. Suppose there are multiple conditions. In this example, we have considered a program that will calculate and display the grade of student based on their scores. All right, and the condition is given: if score is greater than 90, display A; if it is greater than 80, greater than or equal to 80, display B; greater than or greater than or equal to 70 and less than 80, display C, and so on. You can see the question over here. And now we try to take input from a student. He or she will enter the score, and based on the score the gradation will be displayed. So that's the reason The only difference between if else and if elif else is here it will check for the program will check for multiple conditions, not just two. Okay, so it is checking whether when score is greater than equal to 90, then the grade is A. When it is greater than equal to 80, grade is B. Greater than equal to 70, grade is C. Greater than equal to 60, grade is D. And when all the conditions are checked and last condition is left, then you can use else there. That's the reason we call this statement as if, elif, else. So elif could be multiple here. The block of code, the if statement will start with if, multiple elifs, and at last, when the before the last condition, it will be the else part, or you can say it will be the else block. That's the reason this code is written in this way. So if you run this code and you enter any kind of marks, say 62, enter. So it displayed me D, because first condition greater than 80, no, got false. Greater than 70, greater than equal to 80, got false. Greater than equal to 70, false. Greater than equal to 60, yes, this condition was true. So whatever was there in this code, in this block, that is elif block, got displayed. That's the reason we got the output as grade D. Now we have finished with all the variations of conditional statement, that is a plain if statement, then if else statement, nested if is a mix of both, and if elif else. Okay, then there is an example where you can now this example will show you all the variations that we have seen in the previous three programs. So the example is to create a ATM machine program that allows users to check their account balance and withdraw funds. You can set an initial account balance and then deduct the withdraw amount. Is what the question is. Now, initiating an account balance with the variable account underscore balance and putting some amount, say 20,000 in this case. Then we give some greeting message to the customer. Okay, welcome to the ATM. Then we define a variable option. We write some text to guide him that choose an option 1 to check balance, option 2 to withdraw balance. Now we start with our if statement, if, elif, and nested if else statements. Now here in this case, the first thing is that user should get an option 1 and 2 to enter whether he has to check the balance or withdraw the amount. So option is equal to 1. You can see here it is denoted here in string, because whenever user inputs, by default it will be a string, and we don't calculate anything on this choice, so it is a string 1. Okay, we say that if the user presses 1, then print your account balance. So whatever account balance is there, display it with the help of this variable. Elif, if option is equal to 2, if user presses 2 or selects option 2, as a string we have kept it. Again, we don't want to calculate anything on this 2, that's the reason we have kept it as a string, and we did not convert anything to integer over here. Okay, then in that case, if this condition holds true, then we will ask how much amount the user wants to withdraw, user or bank customer wants to withdraw. Then an additional check also, then the user will enter some amount, then additional check also need to be performed. In the first case, that whatever amount user has entered, is that amount available to be withdrawn. That's the reason we are checking it if amount, whatever amount was entered, is less than equal to account balance. If this condition holds true, okay, account balance is equal to account balance minus amount. So whatever account balance is there, that is 20,000 minus whatever amount. In this case, say 1500, user wishes to withdraw 1500, so 20,000 minus 1500, that is 18,500. That will be displayed on the screen. If user would have mistakenly or purposely put 25,000, then it would have displayed him print insufficient funds, because this condition would have got false. This elif condition would have been true. Okay, but this condition would have got false. Inside elif, that is the nested if, would have got false, and the else part of the nested if would be displayed, that is insufficient funds. Okay, and at last, if user doesn't enter any of the entries like 1 or 2, we need to educate the user and say invalid option, please enter or please choose 1 or 2, because the program says that user should be able to check the account balance and withdraw funds. So that's it. Rest, you can do a trial and error checks. You can put different amounts. You can run the program. You can see entering the amount, You can enter 2, you can enter 25,000. We know we don't have 20, so it is displayed insufficient funds because this first condition got false, second one got true. However, inside that second condition, the nested if got false, the else part was executed for that nested if statement. Okay. Apart from that, the condition we can check is that if I enter say 4, then it will educate me and tell invalid option. So none of this was false. This condition became false. So the else part for the outer loop, outer block, that is if else block, got executed. Okay. Then apart from that, what we can check is account balance. If we want to just see what is the account balance, we can run the program. We can make a choice of one, enter, that's it. Your account balance is 20,000 will be displayed. So this covers all the variations that we studied in if else statements. So just to recap, we started with control flow statements. In flow statement, we saw there are three types: conditional statements, iterative statements or loops, and transfer statements. In this video, we saw if else, if-elif-else. In if statements, it's just a single condition that is been checked. For example, we saw a particular number is greater than 15 or not, just one, or if a particular number is odd, or that's it. Not, we did not check for any second condition whether it is even. So that's an example. Okay. In second variation, we saw if else. We checked that okay, if a number is odd, display it as odd on the screen. If number is even, display it as even. We used modulus operator for the logic of checking whether number is even or not, because modulus, any number modulus 2, if it is equal to 0, it will be even, else it will be odd. Then we saw nested if statements, and after nested if in the sense if statement inside if, or if else statement inside if, and variations like if else statement inside elif, what we saw in ATM machine program. Okay. And then we also saw what is if elif else. So there could be multiple elif statements. With if, the syntax would be like this. As you can see the selected part, if condition colon elif condition colon and multiple elif conditions till the last condition. Only for the last condition it will be else. So this is the way how you check multiple conditions through if else statements. And then we saw an example of ATM machine program which covered all these variations that we studied. We saw a variation wherein we have used if nested if inside elif. Okay. So that's all about this video. I hope you got the concept of if else, if elif else, and nested if, which is very important to make any decisions while executing a program as per the requirement of the problem statement. So thanks for watching. We'll meet in next session. Thank you very much.